Welcome to our channel, where we dive into the most chilling and disturbing true stories that will keep you up at night. We're all about exploring those dark corners of reality, the places where the ordinary cracks and something terrifying seeps through. The stories we share aren't make-believe, they're drawn from real events, real people, and real fear. So, if you're someone who enjoys peering into the abyss, who finds a strange comfort in the unsettling, then you've come to the right place. Prepare yourself, because what you're about to hear will linger long after the screen goes dark. Today, we have 3 terrifying tales that are not for the faint of heart. Each one is a stark reminder that the world can be a far more frightening place than we often care to admit. We'll journey from a seemingly innocuous motel room with a dark secret, to the vast, unforgiving wilderness where someone vanished into thin air, and finally, into the suffocating paranoia of being hunted by an unseen tormentor. These accounts are designed to make your skin crawl, to make you question that shadow in the corner of your eye, or that unexplained noise in the dead of night. So, dim the lights if you dare, make sure your doors are locked, and settle in. But be warned, these stories have a way of sticking with you, of replaying in your mind when you least expect it. We're about to delve into events that defy easy explanation, events that highlight the terrifying fragility of safety and sanity. Are you ready to confront the darkness? Let's begin. Our first story takes us to a little, unassuming town, the kind you might pass through without a second thought, nestled off a quiet highway. It's the sort of place where everyone knows everyone, and nothing much ever seems to happen. In this town stood the Sleepy Hollow Motel, a relic of a bygone era, with its faded paint and a neon sign that buzzed more than it glowed. It wasn't a 5-star resort, but it offered a cheap bed for weary travelers. Most rooms were unremarkable, just a place to rest your head, all except one room 104. For years, whispers had circulated among the staff and the more superstitious locals about this particular room. It started subtly, as these things often do. A housekeeper would mention a cold spot that never seemed to warm, even on the hottest summer days. Or perhaps items would be slightly out of place from where they were left. But soon, the reports from guests staying in room 104 became more distinct, more unsettling. People would check out early, sometimes in the middle of the night, their faces pale, refusing to elaborate beyond hushed warnings to avoid that specific room. They spoke of an oppressive feeling, a sense of being watched by unseen eyes, a palpable dread that settled in as soon as the door clicked shut behind them. The motel owner, a pragmatic man named Jeb, initially dismissed these as overactive imaginations, but the consistency of the reports became harder to ignore. Guests would describe seeing fleeting, shadowy figures out of the corner of their eyes, especially near the old, stained armchair in the corner or by the bathroom mirror. One couple swore they saw the translucent outline of a tall, gaunt man standing at the foot of their bed, just watching them, his features indistinct but his presence undeniably chilling. When they screamed, he simply faded away, leaving them trembling in the dark. Another guest, a truck driver just looking for a few hours of sleep, reported waking up to see a womanly figure, draped in what looked like a tattered white gown, weeping silently by the window, her sorrow so profound it felt like a physical weight in the room. Then there were the noises. Oh, the noises! Guests in room 104, and sometimes even in adjacent rooms, would report hearing soft, sorrowful whispers when no one was speaking, the words just on the edge of intelligibility, like a forgotten secret trying to break free. Others heard distinct footsteps pacing the floorboards above, even though room 104 was on the ground floor with only a roof above it. Sometimes there would be faint tapping on the walls, or the sound of furniture creaking as if someone had just sat down or stood up, even when the room was empty. One terrified businessman even claimed he heard a child giggling, a sound that quickly turned into a choked sob, emanating from inside the locked closet. Jeb, the owner, despite his skepticism, eventually had to acknowledge something was deeply wrong with room 104. He tried everything, bringing in a local priest to bless the room, changing the decor, even leaving it vacant for months at a time. But the phenomena persisted. The room developed such a notorious reputation that bookings for it dwindled to nothing, save for the occasional paranormal enthusiast or thrill seeker. Room 104 of the Sleepy Hollow Motel remains a chilling testament to the idea that some places can hold on to echoes of the past, echoes that are all too willing to make their presence known, whether you believe in them or not. Our next story plunges us into the breathtaking yet often deceptive beauty of Redwood National Park. Imagine towering ancient trees, sunlight dappling through a dense canopy, and the kind of silence that's only broken by the rustle of wildlife or the whisper of the wind. It was into this majestic, sprawling wilderness that 23-year-old Sarah Miller ventured one crisp autumn morning. Sarah was an avid hiker, experienced and always well-prepared. She loved the solitude of the trails, the challenge of the terrain, and the sense of connection with nature. This particular trip was a solo day hike she'd been planning for weeks, a chance to clear her head and explore a less-traveled path known as Whispering Pines Trail. She'd told her roommate her plans, left a map of her intended route, and even sent a cheerful text message from the trailhead before she set off, phone reception in these deep woods being notoriously unreliable further in. That was the last anyone ever heard from Sarah. When she didn't return by nightfall, her roommate, initially annoyed, soon became worried. By the next morning, with still no word from Sarah, the roommate contacted the park rangers, and a search was immediately launched. The vastness of Redwood Park, however, is both its beauty and its curse when it comes to finding someone lost. Miles upon miles of dense forest, rugged canyons, and winding rivers make any search operation a monumental task. Days turned into a week, and the search teams consisting of rangers, volunteers, and canine units scoured the area around Whispering Pines Trail and its offshoots. They found nothing. No sign of a struggle, no dropped equipment, no indication of an accident. It was as if Sarah had simply stepped off the path and been swallowed whole by the ancient forest. The hope that had initially fueled the search began to wane, replaced by a gnawing dread. Her family arrived, their faces etched with anguish, clinging to any sliver of possibility. The media picked up the story, her smiling face plastered on news reports, a stark contrast to the grim reality unfolding in the deep woods. Then, nearly 10 days after she vanished, a small breakthrough, though one that only deepened the mystery. About half a mile off her intended trail, tucked away beneath a thicket of ferns, searchers found Sarah's backpack. It was neatly placed, almost deliberately, not dropped in a hurry. Inside, her water bottle was still half full, some snacks were uneaten, and her compass and map were there. But alongside these mundane items was a small, folded piece of paper, a note written in Sarah's familiar handwriting. It contained only 7 cryptic words. "The trees are not what they seem." No explanation, no context, just that chilling, enigmatic sentence. The discovery of the backpack and the note sent a fresh wave of confusion and fear through everyone involved. What could it mean? Was it a sign of a deteriorating mental state, a clue to something she encountered, or perhaps a deliberate misdirection? Theories abounded: a sudden psychotic break, an encounter with a dangerous individual, or even more outlandish speculations involving local legends of the woods. Despite extensive follow-up searches fanning out from where the backpack was found, no further trace of Sarah Miller has ever been discovered. She remains one of the many unsettling disappearances in national parks, a haunting reminder that sometimes people venture into the wild and simply never come back, leaving behind only questions and a cryptic whisper from the trees. Chapter 3. The Watcher at David's Door. Our final story tonight centers on a man named David Henderson, an ordinary guy living an ordinary life in a quiet suburban neighborhood. He worked a 9-to-5 office job, enjoyed watching sports on weekends, and generally kept to himself. His life was predictable, stable, and most importantly, safe. Or so he thought. It all began subtly, almost imperceptibly. A feeling of being watched as he walked from his car to his front door after work. The occasional glimpse of a shadowy figure at the edge of his vision, always disappearing when he turned to look. David initially brushed these off as stress, an overactive imagination, the kind of fleeting paranoia that can strike anyone. But the unsettling occurrences didn't stop. They escalated. He started noticing a dark, unfamiliar car parked down the street from his house late at night, always too far away to get a clear look at the driver, but present often enough to feel like a silent sentinel. Then came the phone calls, no caller ID, just heavy breathing on the other end, or sometimes a barely audible whisper that he couldn't quite make out before the line went dead. The sense of unease began to curdle into genuine fear. David started double-checking his locks, peering through his curtains before stepping outside, the comfort of his once-safe home slowly eroding. The psychological torment soon gave way to more tangible threats. Anonymous typewritten letters began appearing in his mailbox. They weren't overtly violent at first, but deeply personal and unnerving, mentioning details about his daily routine, his habits, things a casual observer wouldn't know. "Enjoyed your walk in the park today, David," one might read, or "that blue tie really suits you." The messages grew progressively darker, hinting at a desire to see him suffer, to dismantle his life piece by piece. The police were sympathetic, but with no concrete evidence of a crime or a clear suspect, their hands were largely tied. They advised him to install security cameras, which he did, hoping to catch a glimpse of his tormentor. Then came the items left on his doorstep. One morning he found a dead bird, its neck broken, laid carefully on his welcome mat. Another time it was a child's doll, its eyes gouged out. Each discovery was a fresh jolt of terror, a clear message that his stalker was close, capable of breaching his perceived sanctuary at will. The security cameras, frustratingly, never seemed to capture a clear image, just a fleeting shadow, a figure always obscured by darkness or a cleverly chosen angle. David's life became a waking nightmare. He was jumpy, sleep-deprived, and increasingly isolated, a prisoner in his own home, haunted by an enemy he couldn't see. The stalking continued for months, a relentless campaign of psychological warfare. David moved house eventually, hoping to escape the unseen eyes he felt were constantly on him. Whether he truly escaped or if the watchers simply chose to disengage remains unknown. The identity of the stalker was never discovered, their motives a complete mystery. David's story is a chilling reminder that sometimes the greatest horrors don't come from monsters or ghosts, but from the inexplicable malice of another human being, lurking just out of sight, turning an ordinary life into a landscape of perpetual fear and uncertainty. And there you have it, 3 stories that I hope have sent a shiver or two down your spine. From the spectral occupants of room 104 to the baffling disappearance of Sarah Miller and the relentless torment faced by David, these accounts serve as unsettling reminders of the strange, dark, and mysterious events that can unfold in our world. These aren't just tales, they're glimpses into real fear, real uncertainty, and the often unanswered questions that linger in their wake. We appreciate you joining us as we explored these chilling narratives. If you enjoyed these stories and if you're brave enough to hear more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more spine-tingling tales. Your support helps us continue to bring these incredible and often terrifying true accounts to light. We'd also love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Did one story particularly get under your skin? Do you have any theories about what really happened? Share your insights, but perhaps keep a light on while you do. Remember, the line between the known and the unknown is often thinner than we think. And sometimes, as these stories illustrate, the truth is scarier than fiction. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and try not to listen too closely to the noises in the night. Thanks for watching.